Hi, everybody. My name is Nadia Aarons, and I feel like I'm doing a rogue Facebook Live right now. I am guest starring for our fearless leader, Kelly Thompson, as she takes a much deserved birthday soul care week. So she asked me to fill in for her and talk all about soul care. So to start, hi Shauna. My name is Nadia Aarons, and aside from being a great friend of Kelly's, I am a psychotherapist, an empath expert, and owner of Transform the Shit Out of Your Life coaching. And I know most of you guys are in like the central time zone. So I'm originally from New York. I live in Seattle. So you may be hearing some F-bombs and some curse words. So I always like to just let you guys know that in advance. So a little bit about me. I have been a psychotherapist for 20 years. And a lot of people ask me how I got the name of my coaching business, which I started about 3 years ago. So back in 2016, my life tragically changed when my 8.5-year-old son unexpectedly died. And I always get obviously emotional when I talk about this, so bear with me. And so it was the most devastating, obviously, moment of my life, and still continues to be. But at the beginning of my grief journey, I was on the floor of his room, just on the floor, just not wanting to live. I didn't want to feel the pain. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to live. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just live this passively suicidal life waiting to die so I could be with him again, and hi Holly. And in that moment, my 98-year-old grandmother came to me in my mind, and at the time she was 98, and she actually just recently died last year at almost 102, but she came into my mind, and I just went, fuck, I have a lot of her genes, and I will probably be here a really, really long time. And living a passively suicidal life is going to be it's going to make this situation even harder and worse. So in that moment, I was like, okay, I either live a passively victimized suicidal life, or I transform the shit out of the worst experience I will ever experience in my life. And so that is how I got the name of my coaching business. And so in that moment, I had to literally get myself up off the floor and not transform my life, but literally get up and try to function and try to be there for my twin daughters and my husband, and literally just survive. So through these steps that I will take you through a little bit later, I developed what I call my Soul Care Six Pack. And it is a system that I use and I teach my clients to transform their lives. And it doesn't have to be a death. It could be a divorce. It could be a midlife awakening, as I call it, not a crisis, because that shit is for real. Like, it showed up for me when my son died. Like, it could be a job loss. It could be whatever, but it is a time in our midlife that we go, okay, what is my purpose? Like, why am I here? Why am I doing these things? And so it's a whole journey that you go on in midlife, okay? And so I developed these steps, like I said, I will share with you a little later on, about really learning how to take care of yourself, because it's more than self-care and bubble baths. It is really learning how to take care of your soul. So I know that this group is all about confidence and clarity, and I absolutely love it. And when I think about confidence and what stops us from being confident, the number one thing that comes to me that stops us is fear. And so And fear shows up in a lot of different ways. It shows up as stress, it shows up as anxiety, it shows up as worry. And the number one way that it shows up for especially women is through codependency and the drama triangle. And I know that if you're in this group, you know all about the drama triangle. So we're just going to kind of briefly go over that. But here's the deal. Codependency is another word for fear. And yes, traditionally, codependency is all about the enabler and the addict. I believe that we are all a little bit codependent, okay? We all have umbilical cords connected to our mothers at birth, which means that we've got these attachments and these connections, right? And so I like to look at codependency as a spectrum. And you're somewhere on the spectrum based on your family of origin, based on your culture, based on your life experiences. You're either going to be a shit ton codependent or not so much, okay? And so I always just like to put that out there and normalize it because it shows up in every aspect of our life. And essentially, what happens with codependency is that we learn and we get conditioned, especially in our society, to put ourselves last. We are going to help everybody else in the world and then put ourselves last. And then we wonder, oh my God, why am I so depleted? Why am I feeling drained? And why am I so resentful at fucking everything and everybody? Okay. And so has anybody felt like this? Can I get like a thumbs up or something? Because I know I can't be the only woman on the planet that feels this way. And so essentially what happens is we seek our external validation and our external confidence versus internal, okay? So if we are constantly seeking validation externally through our career or our friendships or our relationships or what have you, it's like a house of cards. It's not going to last, right? The goal is to feel internally confident, okay? And so it's kind of like, if you're constantly being like, oh, am I worthy? Oh, she said I'm worthy, or he said I'm worthy, then I must be worthy, versus, hey, I know internally that I am worthy and I am confident. And because of that, I attract healthy, confident, worthy people into my life, because the universe, what you put out there is what you get back. So what you think about yourself is what you create and what you receive back. So it is super important to look at codependency and the drama triangle. And again, I'm not going to go full blown into this because I know Kelly talks a lot about it, but essentially the drama triangle is how fear shows up in our life. And it could show up as the victim, the persecutor, or the martyr, or the rescuer, excuse me. The victim is the woe is me, why is life happening to me, my life sucks, all men are assholes, I'm never going to get that job. It's basically like the Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Does anybody remember that? I hope so, because who doesn't love Winnie the Pooh? Anyway, so that's the victim. The persecutor is the person who shames, blames, controls, rages in order to get a false sense of power. The victim uses that victim energy to get the false sense of power. And then there's the third, which is the rescuer. And women, by a long shot, fall into this category where we are the martyr or the enabler, okay? And it's like, what can I do? Don't worry about me. What can I do for you, okay? And so the bottom line is that you could be, like, it shows up in your life primarily as one or two. Like, the way that it shows up for me is the persecutor and the rescuer. If you guys are open to it, I would love to hear how the drama triangle person shows up for you. Like, are you the victim, the rescuer, or the persecutor? My two are the persecutor and the rescuer. The beauty of this is that you could do this whole little dance all within yourself. And the key is to get out of the drama triangle so that you could feel internally empowered instead of using these sorts of victim behaviors in order to gain a false sense of power. So, oh man, total victim D, rescuer, yep. It's crazy. Like, honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's genetic, but I also feel like it's a total, like, we've been conditioned by the patriarchy, you know? And so we've been conditioned to like rescue everybody, you know? And there's a genetic component in there too, I believe, but we have to learn how to take care of ourselves so that rescuer or victim or persecutor doesn't show up. So, how does the victim show up in the workplace? Okay, a lot of ways, because here's the deal. It's pervasive. So if it's showing up in your relationships, if it's showing up in your friendships, it's showing up in the workplace too. So we want to keep it in check, okay? So codependency and the victim show up as approval seeking and over dependency on your boss or your coworkers. You take everything to heart and you feel responsible for solving other people's problems. You feel guilty for not meeting other people's expectations of you. And don't get me started on other people's expectations or your own expectations, right? You feel burnt out, overstressed, overworked, over-responsible, and you are over-functioning. And then you feel, yes, take everything personally. Absolutely. That's the taking things to heart. And then you feel underappreciated for all of those overs, right? And then you feel burnt out and you feel resentful. Another way that codependency and the victim show up in the workplace is the inability to delegate, okay? Which is the dreaded, I hate to even say this word, the dreaded micromanager. Ooh. I am not going to ask you to raise your hand if you are one of those, okay? So don't worry. But essentially, the micromanager is all about needing everything to be controlled. And what happens is that underlying message that the micromanager is sending out is, I don't believe in you. And I don't think that you can do this without my help. Ugh. So if you're a micromanager, and I hope you're not, but if you are, that's the message that you're sending out. And if you have a micromanager in your life, now you know that that's really a control and they're stuck in that drama triangle. And so another way that it shows up is that expectation that everything has to be perfect, which if you know me at all, that perfection is an illusion. It is like trying to reach the horizon. You're never going to get there. And it trips us up all the time and, and kills our confidence. And so Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, she talks about perfection is basically fear dressed up in high heels and a fur coat. I love how she put that because she just nailed it. So anyway, it's a great book. This is just as a side note. So ask yourself if any of these behaviors, these codependent behaviors resonated with you in the workplace. Ask yourself, what is the fear behind these behaviors? And where at work am I codependent? And what are you secretly afraid of if you set boundaries? And how much time and money has codependency cost you? I could, when I'm done with the live, I could post those 4 questions because they're really good questions. And I know Kelly loves journal prompts. So these are really good journal prompts for you guys too. So when this is over, I'll just type them in underneath this live. So this is where boundaries come in. And boundaries are different for everybody. And again, similar to codependency, they are based on your family of origin, your culture, your life experiences. And because I am like super woo as well as a psychotherapist, boundaries, I love letting people in on this little secret. Boundaries is the psychological term for your aura and your energy field. How cool is that? Oh, D girl, I'm gonna get into that. Like the approval seeking, I get it. We're going there. So yay! I'm so glad that you wrote that because I'm gonna be talking about that in just a few minutes. So with boundaries, they're different for everybody, okay? And they are supposed to be pliable. So depending on who you're with and where you are, they're going to be different because they're constantly changeable. So if you are like drinking wine with your bestie, you're going to have a different boundary than if you were in the boardroom and you're giving a presentation. Okay? Can I get a thumbs up for that? So the key is like, and the thing is like, again, based on family of origin and culture and life experiences, there's going to be a spectrum. There is, you could have really super rigid boundaries where you don't let anybody or anything in, or you could have really super loose boundaries, which you're letting everyone and everything in, and you're essentially like an energetic garbage dump. Okay. So the key is that they need to be pliable. And the goal is to let the good stuff in and keep the bad stuff out. Does anybody, I love this. Does anybody remember that playground saying, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say to me bounces off of me and sticks to you? Can I get a thumbs up for anybody, or a me, or a high five, or something? Does anybody remember that saying? Or am I just really showing my age here? This kid is an energetic genius. He is essentially, or she is essentially saying, you know what? I'm going to let the good stuff out, and I'm going to let the good stuff in, excuse me, and I'm going to keep the bad stuff out. Okay. And so that is the key, is listening to your body. And I know Kelly talks about this a lot, as do I. And so we want to go, okay, there's tons of boundaries. There's 6 different major kinds of boundaries. I'm not going to get into them here. But if you feel like your boundary has just been crossed, either verbally, or somebody's in your physical space, or somebody's taking up too much of your time, or, you know, what somebody just went through your purse, whatever, like when you feel that your boundary has been crossed, you feel it in your body. And so you might feel it in your heart, you might feel it in your stomach. And that is a cue for you to learn, okay, I need to decode my body. What does this mean? And just be curious about it. Why did I feel it in my heart? Why did I feel it in my stomach? I also have I work with the chakra system, and there's a whole bunch of psychological, emotional, and spiritual components to the chakras, which are, side note, energy centers in your body, which are actually neuroscience behind it, nerve clusters that cluster at specific areas along your spine that are related to your organs, as well as they also have psychological and emotional and spiritual components in there. So diving deeper, I'm feeling this in my stomach, which is my personal power chakra. What is this about? Or my throat is closing up, which is your expression, is your chakra for expression. So what does that mean? Like, why is my throat closing up when this person just invaded my space or, said something that I didn't like. And so it is learning how to decode your body with boundaries. And then like the deeper, more, spiritual and psychological stuff is when the whole chakra stuff comes in. But that's a whole nother thing. So again, what I like to tell my clients, which would be a great thing for you guys too, is when you're making a decision, or if you have to make a decision in your life or your career, ask yourself, does this feel heavy or does this feel light? And so if it feels light, that is your yes. If it feels heavy, that's your no. And that's always a really good internal compass and a really easy one. So how does this feel in my body? Does it feel light or does it feel heavy? So how do you create boundaries? There are two ways. The number one way is learn how to say no. And D, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. It's probably D, right? It shows up for you in approval seeking, right? And so I totally get this because a lot of women have trouble saying no. And I am a reformed people pleaser. So I totally get it. And what would happen is people would be like, oh, hey, will you help me move? And I'm on a sunny Sunday in the summer up a 5-floor walk up. Sure, yeah, I'll do it. And then I would find that I would be super resentful and I would just be like, why the hell am I here? And I'd be angry at the person. I'd be angry at myself. And then I realized I'm just saying yes to everybody because I wanted to be liked. Ugh. Yeah, gross, right? Has anybody else had any sort of similar experience in this? Can I get a thumbs up or a high five or something? And so what happens is that yes is a knee-jerk reaction. So what you want to do is create some space. So if you can't straight up say no, which I totally get, use what I used to use. Now I just say no. Like I'm just like, nope. And even sometimes I'm still using this one. Let me think about it and get back to you. So when somebody asks you something, let me think about it and get back to you. And then that way it gives you that time and space to not have that knee-jerk reaction of yes, and let me people please, or let me approval seek. And so then you think about it, and then you say no, or if you think about it and you're like, oh yeah, I've got the time and I've got the space and I've got the energy, I'll do it. But if you don't, then you just say no. And then you know what happens? Something super amazing. That other person goes, okay, no problem. Just thought I'd ask. Pretty easy. And guess what? If they don't and they get angry, that's their codependency that they need to work through. It's not your problem. Let me think about it. It gives you a breather so that you don't have the knee jerk of people pleasing and saying yes all the time. The second thing to setting boundaries is speaking up, because this is all under that soul care umbrella, okay? And so women have been conditioned to keep quiet and play small and stay safe, especially in the boardroom. And so there are these 4 universal fears that stop us from speaking up. And here they are. They're universal, so there's no shame in the game. We've all got them. The fear of rejection or disapproval. Not being liked. Fear of being judged or criticized. And then the 4th one, because we're human and we're totally catastrophic by nature, the fear of losing everything. And so I would love to hear from you, which one of those 4 fears stops you from speaking up? Rejection, disapproval, fear of losing everything. Hi, Stacy. Which one is your big one? This fear of losing everything, not being liked, or being judged or criticized. So these are the things that keep us from holding back. That being said, it is about feeling that fear and doing it anyway. And so when you start to say no and when you start to speak up, you create time and space for you. I know, the fear of rejection is a big one. Mine is not being liked. Oof. and I've been working on that one for years, rejection and disapproval. Yeah, they're all in there and they're all ugly. And it is about feeling the fear, because I believe we can't get rid of fear. It comes with us wherever we go. And it's about learning how to decode that fear, because I believe it is your soul's compass to go, psst, over here, you need to grow, and you need to grow in this direction, which is why you're feeling the fear. So the more that you could look at the fear as a growth tool, that's how you're going to transform your lives. That's how you're going to become more internally confident. And so this is where soul care comes in. And like I said earlier, I'm an empath expert. And just to briefly tell you what an empath is, it is somebody who feels their way through life. Like, there are some people who are visual, some people who are super analytical, some people who are gustatory and they're like the chefs of our world. There's auditory people who are like the musicians of our world. And then there are the feelers of our world, which is me and our fearless leader, Kelly Thompson. And so if you've taken the Myers-Briggs, empaths generally show up as INs, introverted intuitives, which is what Kelly is, or NFs, intuitive feelers, which is what I am. And so we feel our way through life. We feel other people's feelings. And so when that happens, we try to rescue because there's a high correlation of codependency and being an empath. And so, and the science behind it is that we have a mirror neuron system in our brain, everybody does, which is in charge of compassion and empathy and connection. And as an empath, ours is hyperactive. Our mirror neuron system is hyperactive. It's pretty cool. Fun fact, if you have a underactive mirror neuron system, you're a sociopath. So all of those serial killers out there have a really low mirror neuron system. Anyway, I have a fascination with serial killers and cults. I think it's just the psychological mind and how people's minds work. So anyway, soul care is super important for every woman out there. It's extra important for the empaths out there. And so this is all about putting your oxygen mask on first. I did 4 things after my son Jack died 4.5 years ago to get me off the floor. Every day I meditated, I journaled, I felt my feelings, and I eventually got myself back to exercising. Those are my 4 soul care survival things that I have to do every single day in order to keep going, okay? And so you have to feel your feelings. You can't just repress them, because if you repress them, they're getting stuck in your body, and then you have to decode all that stuff in your body. Like, they have to go somewhere. So the more you could express it, the better. And that is also what is so great about journaling, is that you could get all of the ping pong ball anxiety energy out of your head, and you purge your emotions into journaling. I know that Kelly is a huge journaler as well, and it is just, I call it the therapist in my pocket. Like, when shit's going down, it's going in my journal. And when things are going pretty awesome, it's going in my journal. It's just such a really super powerful tool, because the more you can get your gunk out, you keep writing, and that's when the ahas come. That's when the insights come. And that's when those intuitive spiritual moments, those little glittery, sparkly moments come after you get all your gunk out. Okay. And so those are the 4 things that I did. And I always like to refer to Hal Elrod, who wrote this book called Miracle Morning. And he has this thing called Savers, because I love acronyms. And Savers is what he does in the morning. And soul care is done best in the morning, because this is how you're going to recharge that battery. Because what we want to do is we want to give people the best of us, not what's left of us. And so we have to start out on that full battery. And so if you do it in the morning and you create some time, like an hour or even a half an hour out of your day, and you know what he says are savers, okay? So it's silence for like 2 minutes. You know, maybe just like when I first started meditating, it was literally for 2 minutes. I could not do it for any longer. So set an alarm for 2 minutes or 5 minutes and just sit in silence. Insight Timer is a great free app for learning how to meditate also. And let's see, and then A, so just do each one of these for like 5 minutes and you're like good to go. Then there's A, which are affirmations, like putting them in the present self. I am confident. I am empathic. I am super rad, whatever it is. V is visualization. So like visualize yourself like nailing your next presentation in the boardroom. E is for exercise. You don't have to go run a marathon. You don't need to take a boot camp class. Go walk around the block for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or jog in place or do yoga, anything to get your blood rushing to your brain so you can get your endorphins flowing and all the good brain juices going. R is, oh my God. Oh, reading. I was like, shit, what was R? Reading. This is not reading Us Weekly or People Magazine or something. You could do that later. But R is like reading something inspirational, whether it's a great self-development book or something spiritual or whatever. Take 5 minutes to read a passage in whatever is something that's going to make you feel good. And then the last S is scribing, which is just another word for journaling. And so if you do all of those for 5 minutes a day, that's 30 minutes to set your day. Like, this is what soul care is about. Feeling those feelings, creating space and creating boundaries, listening to your body and putting you first. And, you know, because again, as women, we give so much, and this is about receiving. This is about filling up our own tank. And so we really want to give the best of us and not what is left of us. And that is what soul care is all about. And that's what I've got for you guys today. I would love to, you know, if you have any questions, I'll be hanging out on here a little bit after the live. I would love to hear from you guys. And if you want to learn more about being an empath and soul care and the chakras, you could head on over to my website, which I put in the top of the live, which is NadiaAarons.com. I have an empath quiz on there, so you could go and find out if you're an empath and let me know. I've also got a free healing light meditation, which is a really great meditation tool, especially if you're new to meditation. You could download that and listen to it, and it takes you all through your body, and it's super awesome and relaxing. And you can follow me. I'm on Instagram, Nadia Aarons. I've got a private Facebook group, which is Transform the Shit Out of Your Life. You feel free to hop on over there. I do weekly lives. And if you want to learn more about boundaries and the chakras, I actually have a new 8-month program that starts on Monday, and it's only 2 more days to register, and it is called Chakra Chicks. And twice a month I have Zoom calls, and I teach and I do meditations. And then the second Zoom of the month, I do a hypno healing. So we deep dive into each chakra and do some healing and connection and journal prompts galore in a private Facebook group, all the things. Anyway, if any of this resonates with you, just head on over to my website. All the information is there. Thank you, Kelly, for having me on. You've got a wonderful group, and I'm honored to have filled in for you, and I hope you have a magical and amazing birthday. And thank you, ladies, for having me. I really appreciate it. Mwah. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.